Welcome to Second Chance Points, our FCX basketball podcast. Another week of craziness. A lot of overtime games, a lot of close games. That seems to be the theme of the season so far. Is few blowouts and coaches earning their money for coaching extra minutes. And joining me right now, and sadly for the last time for a couple of weeks, is my co-host Mike Walsh. Mike, I'll let you tell the audience we're going to be missing you for a couple of weeks, unfortunately.
Well, I have an issue with my heart that has to be taken care of, and I'm scheduled for surgery tomorrow. So I think everything will be all right, and I hope to be back in several weeks. But I'm not going to miss too much of the action. Hopefully, during my recovery, I can be checking on the FCI games. I mean, it's a great season, a lot of parity, and I'm looking forward to back on a podcast with you.
I can see the scene in the hospital room on Tuesday where they're saying, Mike, you need your rest. And Lisa's going to be holding the computer or the phone in front of you, and you're going to be bouncing around from Danbury Staples to New Canaan St. Joe's, and they're going to be fighting you to rest.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, but we'll see.
Well, look, most importantly, and certainly I'm gonna miss you, but I'll be down to visit you as soon as you can have visitors, and we're all sending our positive mojo your way for a quick recovery.
All right, I appreciate that, Dave.
And we got a good pinch hitter for you for the next couple of weeks. Our friend Colin Devine, the former Staples coach, is going to fill in for you. And here at the Rudin Report, we recognize talent, and we bring up top talent when there's an opening.
Well, there's no question. Colin's one of the best. I just hope it's not like the Lou Gehrig situation where he does so well that you can't take him out. But
you're gonna get Wally Pipp. Nah, there's we'll see. I got to figure out what I'm going to be Tuesday. I'm ended up in the hospital for a test, so it might be the Colin Devine podcast in a couple of weeks, or it might be you and Colin.
He'll do a great job, no question about it.
He will, and it's not going to be, like I said. You and I go way back, and this has been a lot of fun. And I don't want to make it sound like this is the final episode. It's just the last episode for a couple of weeks.
Well, for my sake, it better not be the final episode.
Well, we got a lot of different ways you and I just talked, and we got a lot of places to go. And we thought we'd talk with, kind of start off with where I was at this week, and a couple of teams in interest. And right off the bat, I went up to see Ridgefield for the first time since their loss to Staples a week ago Friday. And Drew McClellan is the anti-Mike Walsh right now. Mike Walsh would play 6 players. If he'd play 5 players if he'd get away with it. But 6, and on the rare year, maybe you'd play 7 guys. Drew right now is playing 10 to 12 players. And I thought it was going to be a more competitive game with Fairfield Ward, and they came away with a 30-point win. I know you watched a little of it.
Well, I watched some of that game, and I just thought, and I think Andrew said it, they wore them down, especially their guards. I mean, we all know that Jack Plesher is a really good player, but his surrounding players, they've got to get better. I think what Coach Swaller said, they have to find an identity, and that identity wasn't on display the other night, and Ridgefield was the reason that it wasn't on display.
No, but I agree with you. I said to him, team chemistry, and he came right back with identity. And right now their identity is Jack Plesser, and that's not going to win a championship, and not going to get them as far as they can go. And there are some pieces there. There's glue missing, whether it's a player or two to put that all together. But I'll tell you what, this is my you're on the Jack Plesser. I'm on the Ian Swadowitz, Andrew Griffin bandwagon right now. Those two players that I'd heard. Well, Swadowitz I'd heard a lot about, and he scored in every game where he's been healthy and he's had an ankle issue. He scored in double figures and hit 3-point shots. But Drew kept talking to me about a point guard number 0 that I didn't really know anything about. And he's got Swadowitz is a junior, and he's got a kid named Andrew Griffin, and he's one of the other than I guess Griffin is the commonality for point guards with the why my block Bromwitz over at New Canaan. Those are the two real true point guards, only two real old school point guards I've seen so far.
Well, and those two players you just mentioned come off the bench. He played the 10 or 11 guys, and 3 of them in double figures, and I think 4 or 5 others had 5 points or more. He's doing it, as he said, a different way. He's playing 10 to 12 players, and he's going to come at you. Now, I don't know if that's going to last the whole season, because sometimes when you do all that substituting, and of course I'm old-fashioned, they kind of lose a little bit of a rhythm in big games anyway. So it's working for him the other night against Ward. Ward has a way to go, I think, to find themselves. But I just think the league this year is pretty balanced as far as night in and night out. Anybody could beat anybody, especially among the top maybe 8, 9 teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And he's kind of like Noah's Ark right now. He's got 2 guys that can do everything. He doesn't have that real lead player, a Dylan Vallette, James St. Pierre, the Nacles. He doesn't have one of those right now, but he's got, you know what, you're the coach, you tell me, and especially as someone who, you were kind of the other extreme. You really didn't like to play a lot of guys off the bench, but can you win a championship? Is it harder, easier? Doesn't really make a difference when you're playing that many guys and you don't, they don't really have a go-to player. I mean, you got Walsh and Kozdaba, who are probably the 2 most likely, but he's got Nick Skenga. I just looked it up. In their 2 games last week, 7 different players scored in double figures.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's not the way I coach or had coached, but it works. I mean, Charlie Bentley did it for years at Harding. I mean, he was the epitome. It was 5 in, 5 out.
In, 5
it was
out.
like a line change, and sometimes you go up to 15 players. And he was pretty successful at Harding. I don't think that Drew was at that point, but he certainly can play. 8, 9 guys. And I think when you get down to the playoffs, you still want to go with your go-to guys. And I think he has those guys if he can develop them. And if they're not working, then he brings the other guys in. I was fortunate in that you say I play 6 or 7 guys, but those guys were pretty good, some of them. So
yeah. When you're not taking Craig Austria, Roshmel Jones, or Dave McClure, Torrey Thomas out of the game for too long a period.
No, and we were successful. So there's different ways of being successful, and I think that Andrew may have hit upon it this year with Ridgefield. He doesn't have that one go-to guy, but he has several guys that can step up and do the job and can perform their role. Now, that being said, I think the Staples team and Danbury, I'd have to put those as the top 3 with Ridgefield right now. But again, you look around the league, and I don't want to jump ahead here because of games we want to talk about, but St. Joe's, they could beat anybody. I think they have the guards, they have the big guy inside if he plays like he's capable of playing. Stanford High had a terrible game the other night, but I think they're capable of being a good team on a good night. And again, I'm not mentioning Wilton, and thank God Danny Melzer won his first game, and I shouldn't say in the SEAC. 4 in a row overtimes. I mean, I've never.
Yeah, let's
ever
go.
heard
I
of.
want to backtrack to where you're talking about with, because we want to go somewhere with all these teams, but New Canaan's where I wanted to go next. And I don't know if coaches get paid overtime for the more minutes they coach, but Danny may take the whole New Canaan athletic budget and send it out of whack. 4 straight games in overtime. I was at the game against Staples where they had a 10-point lead and couldn't hold it. Yeah, they took Danbury to overtime, only lost by 3. And then he overtime against Wilton. And all those games are pretty much, I mean, almost every game this year is a 50-50 game, but all those teams are fairly comparable in talent. And I was really impressed with New Canaan when I saw them against Staples, but they were able to grind out a win against Wilton. That was a big game for them. If they'd lost another close game, just in terms of getting their confidence up, and they know they could play with these teams because they have. But I think they needed to show they for themselves they could beat one of these teams.
I think the key word you just talked about is confidence. You have to be able to beat a good team, and he beat a good team in Wilton. Although it was not easy. I mean, Wilton made a big 3-point shot to tie it up in the first.
That was Spencer Liston. Spencer Liston hit that, right?
Spencer Liston, and then I think he had a wide open 3 at the end of the second overtime. It just rimmed out. But you're right. Confidence. New Canaan now has a win, and they still got tough games coming up, but I think that was really, really important for their team to get a W in that situation.
And then I got to, you alluded to Stanford getting beat. I got to see Danbury for the first time on Thursday night against Stanford, and they were missing one of the Perkins cousins, but I like them most talent wise. If you just go strictly on talent, I think they get the edge on paper right now. And Cam Perkins, who I was real impressed with last year, he's playing well right now. And Christian Jeffers had a really good game. They were up like a little over 20 points, and Stanford made on a run led by EJ Perkins, and got the game back down to 11. And Jeffers just had a look on his face, give me the ball. And he got the ball, he scored, and he went on a mini run. And then next thing you know, the lead's back up to 20 points. So, Danbury, again, we saw with New Canaan, they're every game's close, but I like their talent.
I agree with you. I think athletically and talent-wise, they may be the most talented team in the league. I'm not sure how much depth they really have. They do have some players that Casey brings off the bench, but Cam Perkins and Jeffries they're basically the guys you have to stop to beat Danbury. And they're going to be right there at the end, and it's going to be an interesting season as far as that's concerned. But just to flip back to New Canaan a minute.
And by the way, before EJ Presley, I am EJ Presley for Stanford.
Well, he's the quarterback. You should remember that from football.
I
right?
should know that. I talked to Donnie for a while before the game. I messed that one up.
No, but it's just talking about New Canaan. They have 3 really, really good players, I think. Obviously you mentioned the point guard, Bramwitz. I think I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Havlik, is it?
Hladek. He's a good player too.
Right, and they have another big kid inside is pretty good too. So I mean, they can beat anybody too on a given night. I mean, and Wilton. Just to say a few words about that, they're never out of it. They were down 39-32 with like 2 minutes or 3 minutes to go in that New Canaan game, and I said, this game's over. But no, they battled back and they ended up tying it, and it was they showed a lot of spunk on New Canaan's court, and that's a tough court to play on. I think we've talked about that, as is Wilton's court. So again, I think if you want to lump New Canaan and I think Wilton and probably St. Joe's into the next three. I think you could do that. And Ward, if Coach Swaller can get his team together, could be in that mix. And you don't want to forget Stanford. They're young and inexperienced, and on any given night they can give you trouble. Greenwich, I think, realized how far they have to go to beat it. They got beat pretty good by Staples the other night at Greenwich, and that's one of the top three teams, so they have to get a little bit better. Buddy Bray.
All you need to know about the FCX right now is come Tuesday night after 4 games, there's going to only be one undefeated team.
Yes, that's a great point.
That's all you that right then and there is the story of the FCX right now. Only Danbury and Staples are unbeaten right now, and they play each other in Danbury on Tuesday night. So and we'll talk about that game a little bit as well, but that just goes to show you where there are a whole bunch of everybody's 2-1 and 1-2. There's only 2 teams that haven't won a game. So only West Hill and Central right now. So it is close to everyone. Everyone could be not close to everyone could beat anyone on a given night. But that goes. Last week I sort of talked about are the 8 teams set already, or how the difference. The question I'm curious about right now is how many teams do we see right now that can win 3 games and win a championship? And I see 3 right now: Danbury, Ridgefield, and Staples. Do you see? I know you agree with that. Is there anybody else at this point right now you can see winning 3 games?
To be honest with you, I think they have to improve to do that. I think that the potential is there for St. Joe's. They're 2 guards.
St. Joe's is a wild card, and I haven't seen them yet. I have to get over to see them.
Yeah,
they're the wild card team to me with those 3 lead guys.
I mean, they went overtime at Ward, and the 2 guards. I think it was T.J. Wright and Raheem Murray. They're 2 sophomores. They're good. They're not afraid to take a shot. I tell you that. They shoot the ball. And then you throw into the mix who probably is one of the most talented players in the FCAC if he adheres to what the coach wants him to do. And Dejan Hall Johnson, I think I have their name right, but he's a man child in there. He can score inside. He's got a pretty nice touch from the outside. He has a tendency to sometimes lose focus. But if he gets focused and those 2 guards play like they're capable of, like you say, they're a wild card. I think the only thing that might hurt St. Joe's is they don't have a lot of depth from what I've seen in the couple of games I've watched. But again, you got a new coach and he's doing a good job there. And, really, I don't know if they can win 3 in a row, but there could be somebody that they're not supposed to be and destroy their hopes of winning an FCAC championship. Other than that, Wilton is always going to grind it out. This may sound
to me, the team after that at this point, and I would say is most likely, but I don't see it there right now, is New Canaan.
Yeah, because of their 3 good players, and they have a point guard, and Danny does a great job. I think that they have a chance to win the 3. And again, anything could happen in the FCAC this year because of the way things are. You don't know. I mean, as you say, we're 3 games in. It's a long season. Players develop, coaches develop players. Hopefully no injuries or anything of that nature. And, there's certain teams that may develop to the point, like a New Canaan, where they can win a championship. I could see them coming in and beating a Ridgefield.
Yeah, we're only 3 games in, so this is I'm looking at what it is now and talking about it now because I want to see once you get back here where things are.
No, I agree. I want to trust me. I want to get back as quickly as possible and be halfway through the season and a little bit more, and then we'll have a better picture of what's
Well,
going
yeah,
on.
again, it's right now I see it that way, but I also see where we could see it differently. And just going again, uh, just to kind of not anything I would ever normally talk about now, but I want to kind of I may play back this little section of the podcast in 4 weeks to show how different it is. But somebody said to me, what, who I think the all FCAC team right now would be. And I bring this up only because it relates to how things are with the teams. But and we talked about it a little bit more. I mean, things are going to change, but to me, there's like 6 or 7 candidates for first team. I mean, Zajac and Plesser are givens. I think Cam Perkins is a given. And then for me, I'd go Christian Jeffers of Danbury. I had 2 Danbury guys there. And then I'm really, really high on Bramwith, the point guard in New Canaan. But I also think maybe one of the St. Joe's guys may distinguish himself. But
yeah, and I think one of the Staples guys may distinguish themselves. And I know that last couple of games, Cody Sales has had 16 points. They have a couple of the other guards have stepped up big against New Canaan. Who was the guard that hit the big 3 against New Canaan? Again, it's so early with that. I would agree with the first 3. I mean, Zajac and Plesser and Cam Perkins. After that, I mean, you don't know.
There's like, and I don't remember a year where there are just so few dominant players where you can't, you can sometimes just pick the first team from 5 great guys. Well, we have, I think there are 2 guys that are ahead of the pack. I like Perkins a lot. I personally, like I said, I like Jeffers a lot. But we have there's 10 or 12 guys after that there's not a lot separating them. They're almost real similar in talent. And I bet you if you got if you chose up sides with those 12 players, I bet you 6 coaches, you could have real different orders with those players. They're so
well. Let me tell you, like you said, the next 4 or 5 weeks are going to tell who that 5th guy is, 6th guy, 4th guy. I think that's going to separate itself. And
that kind of relates back to why this league is so equal. The players are equal. They're when you can only really identify 2 or 3 guys right now as being ahead of the pack. It just goes to show that's why everybody has players of comparable ability, and that's why we have all these close and overtime games, which has really been the storyline this part of the season.
No question about it. And as you say, the one thing that may be a little different is Ridgefield. Now you didn't put anybody in Ridgefield the first time team, but they have players.
They have no one on the first team, and they could end up having 3 guys on the third team. And win a championship that way, which I don't know. They have some second and third team players, but right now they don't have a first team player. And they're again, it's so different. Ridgefield's going to use so many different players. Staples is one of the teams that has one superstar. Cody Sale has done a good job in the number 2 role, and they have a bunch of guards that different ones are stepping up. And then Danbury is kind of in between, though. Right now, I see them having the most overall talent.
I don't know how much depth they have, but you're right. But as far as the starting 5 is concerned, as far as Staples is concerned, it's so important for them to have Zajac be the center of attention. I think in the New Canaan game, in the 3rd quarter, he did not see the ball enough. And then in the 4th quarter, he started getting it. And what that does, it frees up Cody Sales. It frees up the other guards. The guards have to play through Zajac, as far as I'm concerned. And then they have to be defensively able to stop people. And I think that's the key to Staples winning a championship, to be honest with you. This Danbury game is going to tell a lot.
In Zajac, they have something that no other team has, and nobody stopped him yet. It's kind of like football when you're running the ball and they tell you, keep running the ball and until the other team stops you. And he just, I don't know why, but he went long stretches in the second half in the third quarter where he didn't see the ball. And the thing is, he gives the ball back out. It's not a case where once the ball goes to him, it's going up. So you give the ball into him, and now you're getting open looks for the guards, and you become
if I was a guard, I'd want to throw it into him all the time because I know I'm going to get it back and get an open shot. And I think they kind of realize that. And I think they're developing that. Like you say, we're 3 games in. I mean, they played outside games.
Zajac could average 30 a game without being a ball hog.
Yeah, well, because he's a great passer too. On the other side, the Plesser that we mentioned, he needs people to step up around him. He doesn't have the Cody Sales or the other guards that Staples has right now. And Ryan Sweller could maybe develop that. But, one guy, as I think Ryan said, is not going to win a championship, or 3 guys not going to win a championship. You need a team. And, that's why I see Ridgefield being a real danger, because they're starting to come together as a team. It's almost like a no-name offense and no-name defense, but a team. And being successful.
They're like the old make the football analogy. The old
Miami Dolphins, right?
Miami Dolphins.
Right.
The no-name defense where they don't have a superstar, but you know what? Drew coaches to what he has rather than try to fit players into what he wants to do, and he's doing it a different way right now. And like I said, I hadn't had a chance. They missed 3 guys. They were missing 3 guys against Staples. And I'm not going to say, I'm not taking anything away from Staples going in there and winning. That's not to say, well, if these 3 guys were there, they would have lost the game. But with those 3 guys, they're a different team.
Well, you said it, and I really think that the league this year. It's going to come, I hate to say this, but it's going to come down to coaching. What coach develops his team to the point where they can win a championship, to the point where they can get into the playoffs and win some games. And look, you have all great coaches in this league. There's no question about it. I mean, obviously, Andrews won 4 championships in a row, and Casey's been there before, and Casey knows how to coach. And yet, then you have the young. They're not young anymore. They've been around for a while. Danny Melzer and Joel, excellent coaches. Ryan Swaller, the reputation of the guy at St. Joe's. I mean, it's just like these coaches. They know how to coach and they know how to develop. And I think that's what's going to determine and why these games are going to be great the next few weeks. How the teams are going to develop.
I'm kind of curious because one of the glory days of FCI coaching was during the era when you were coaching, and you had guys like Mo over in Stanford, Jim Moriarty. You had Charlie Bentley. You had Vito Montelli. You had all Don Usher at New Canaan. I'm skipping
You're
over.
blanking out on some of these other guys.
I'm not going to name every single one and go down because Schultze over in Fairfield. But do you see now? I mean, you were there when that all started, and over time you had all these great veteran coaches. I kind of see where this group right now, 10 years from now, almost all these guys will still be at the same place. And they'll be looked at as you guys were during your peak era.
Yeah, no, Dave, I definitely could see that happening because, first of all, they're dedicated. And it's a different kind of thing now because you got to coach year round. And I think the CIC is finally waking up in that area. They're going to allow some out of season coaching. And it's a harder job than when we were there. I mean, in a sense. Because it's a year-round type thing, and you have your weight conditioning, you have your fall league, your summer league, they even have spring leagues now. So it's year-round, and these young coaches have embraced it. And I'm talking about I don't want to mention the names I just mentioned, but also like a John Daly at Ludlow. You don't see the results all the time, but every time his team takes the floor, they're ready to play and they're going to give somebody trouble.
Yeah.
Really, I think that's a key.
I wasn't there for like the early years of you guys. So with my age, I was pretty close to it. But I kind of see where this group can get to where the previous era of coaches did, where I think
Well,
coaching makes a big difference. It always makes a big difference, but more so right now with where the talent's at. But I see this group, 10, 15 years from now, almost all of them still being there. And we look back on them as we did with all the coaches that I mentioned during your
I
era.
agree with you in a sense. Danny Mills is a great coach, but I don't know if he could keep taking 4 overtime games in a row for a lot of years. I don't know if I could have.
Why don't we, as we wind down here, take a little bit look of Staples Danbury on Tuesday night. They're going crazy in Westport. They're not used to playing these kind of games, so I think they're all pumped up. And Danbury's been there before, and I know talking to Casey, and I'm going to talk to him later today for a story. But can Staples is one in Ridgefield? Can they go up to Danbury and make it a sweep of the two teams we think are the two top teams in the league right now?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to think that Danbury will have a tough time stopping Staples Zajac inside. The key to the game is going to be whether or not the guards get him the ball, and he'll definitely give it back to him. And then the guards are going to have to make shots. If Sales has his usual good game, and the other guards play like they're capable and hit a few outside shots, I think they can win. The real key, though, is going to be, can they control the boards? The games I've watched in Danbury gets a lot of offensive rebounds. And, Staples sometimes, I mean, they're not big outside of Zajac. So rebounding is going to be key in that game.
Staples doesn't really have a natural four. That's one thing that they're missing right now.
Right. So I think that rebounding, especially against a good offensive rebounding team like Danbury, could determine the outcome of the game. But I'm interested to see how Staples plays it defensively. Did they go to the zone like Melzer did and it gave them all kinds of trouble? Or do they play a man-to-man, which they've been playing everybody all year long? Or maybe they mix it up. I don't know. Dave's a new coach, and
we talked about all the other coaches. We got the first-year coach who might be the front runner for Coach of the Year right now.
Well, right now you got to give him Coach of the Year. He went up to Ridgefield and beat Ridgefield in his first game, and he won an overtime game. And then he went down to Greenwich and won. So he's 3-0 and I think 7-0 overall. So this will be a big test for the team, for Staples. And for the coach. I'm really interested to see how he played it. Unfortunately, I'll probably be sedated and I'll be dreaming about it. I don't know. But
I'll tell you what, this is like the day I need you. You talked me home from Ridgefield right into my garage on Friday night. Now, I mean, I got to go to Danbury if ever I really needed you. I don't know.
You can call me, but I'll probably be incoherent.
You won't be picking up, but if ever I need it for an hour ride home, you're the only one who can get me there. I don't know who else I can.
Well, I think that'll be a great game. And to be honest with you, when I do come out and start feeling better, I'll probably watch that on demand because I really want to see that game.
Is this when you have somebody, a game changer like Zajac in a big game like this? Do you go to him more than you usually do until you see that they stop you?
Well, I would, but and I'm sure the guards are aware of that. I'm sure the coach is aware of that, and I'm sure Danbury's aware of that too. So he's going to get double teamed and he's going to get banged around a little bit. But the thing that impressed me most about him this year is he's physically stronger. And he's tougher in there.
Absolutely.
that's a big thing, I think.
Nobody's kicking sand in his face. That's for sure.
No, you're right.
I think it's a lot of strengths. Zajac and Danbury's rebounding.
Yeah, no, and I don't know if Cam is going to play him if they played man to man, but that would be a great matchup. He's not the same size,
and whoever and yeah, if they man and they put like, can Zajac get one of those guys in a key Danbury player in foul trouble?
Well, the thing about Zajac too is he's left-handed, so not a lot of people can defend a left-handed guy in the post. So that again could happen and get Danbury in foul trouble. If they get in foul trouble, then I think that Staples has another advantage. It's again, I hate to be missing Tuesday night. The only time I could get this scheduled was tomorrow. So I mean, I can't put it off either because as I say, I hope to make next podcast another 4 weeks.
I'm setting the odds at 50-50 that you see some of the game, depending on how much you're gonna be able to stay away.
Yeah,
you're gonna be calling me on the ride home and saying, Dave, I want to talk, and you probably get me home from Danbury.
Well, I guess it depends also on what kind of medicine they give you for pain or whatever. So I don't know where I'll be, in some kind of twilight zone or something. But there's also 2 other games that night are pretty big. Talking about New Canaan and Danny, and he has St. Joe's at home.
I'll tell you what, I'm so tempted to go there only because I haven't seen St. Joe's yet.
I tell you, if I had to pick in that game, though, I'd take New Canaan. Not because I think Danny will try to neutralize those guards. And I think that he has that big kid. Was he a football player? He brings in once in a while. He's going to bang Deshaun.
He's not a football player, but and this will be a subject for our first podcast when you come back. But Danny talked about, and a lot of coaches I think have to go through this, is because he has so many football players on the team. Yeah, he's got guys. He only sees them for 2 to 3 months a year, and that's it. I think there are a lot of other coaches in the same boat.
No, that's a whole nother issue.
Which I think also gets into the bigger picture of, we're seeing fewer real basketball players, and that's had a big effect on the league.
There's no question, but it's an exciting league, and we're all excited about it. And I hope to be back in a few weeks.
We'll have a lot to catch up on. I know once you're able to, you'll be watching a lot of games, so we'll be talking about it a lot. Your seat will be kept warm. We'll have Colin to fill in, but I can't wait to have you back. Most importantly, positive mojo, and sending best wishes, and we know everything's going to go well, and look forward to everybody getting able to see you here again.
I appreciate it, Dave, and thanks for having me, and I appreciate the well wishes.
Okay, and that's this week's edition of Second Chance Points. As you can see, we got a lot of games. There are always a lot of games to talk about each week. We're looking forward to the big Staples Danbury showdown, and looking forward to having Colin Devine step in next week. And have a good week, and we'll be talking to you soon.